No, it's the Rabbi Emeritus that's officiating, so, who I don't know. And the leadership is not. I mean, my family doesn't know me at all. Oh.
I've already started the live stream, no one's gonna see the cast, if you want me to just aim it away.
Yeah, so just shut it down for.
I can't shut it, so I'll just. People already.
If he smiles, we're in trouble.
Is that actually recording?
Yep, so Bucky,
I haven't seen the Corgis that are traditional, right?
this card.
Does she still have her George stuffed animal for me? George?
Board, motion of support.
Yeah, well, she has George, we weren't allowed to touch.
No.
Yeah, it was the stuffed animal, George. Yeah, we would always try to steal George from her.
She came out for Charlie's wedding, September 1. That was her motion of support.
Yeah, I remember seeing the post on Facebook.
what do we want for each other when we go? I'm gonna be the first to go, so let me tell you.
You know, you never know. I mean, you've been around long enough to know, like,
It's just because I've had too many close people. Michelle told me before she passed, it's like I took care of her through the chemo and all that. We were come to the understanding, her sisters and I would split weeks, being her caretaker, because she had an apartment there, so that we could get her to the hospital and back. And she told me to look for blue hearts, and anytime I saw a heart, it would be her. And I get fried pickles that are not my mom, her friend gave her this. My mom had an interest in wearing it. It fits my hand. It's a blue heart.
wow.
Like, silly little things.
Yeah.
My dad is a yellow butterfly. We were on a cruise because he and my mom, on their 25th, were in Italy for a business trip. But he told her on our 50th, I'm going to take you back. And they actually had plans already in motion to go. And he died suddenly in January when their anniversary is in June. So my mom still wanted to go to fulfill this wish. So my family went with her. And we were in the back of the boat. We were gonna toss some of his quarters in the ocean. A yellow butterfly lands right in front of us. We're in the middle of the ocean. Where does a yellow butterfly come? And he wouldn't leave. And then there's a name in Spain on a car. A certain car is called Leon. I took pictures of this hands all over the place. And there was this high-rise building with a yellow butterfly insignia. So everywhere we went, in the most peculiar places, but on the boat in the middle of the ocean, a yellow butterfly staring at us. That was amazing. So you guys are the only chippies that are allowed to come. Not that anybody would come, but you guys are the only chippies, so you can sing the creed for me. Okay, you got it? Donna's like, oh, hell no.
I'll sing it.
Okay.
I'll do it. Yeah, no, I'll do it too. Yeah, I would, I think it was great too.
I found a few cemeteries that were actually supposed to be moved at certain points. Like, there's one by me that was supposed to be moved in the 60s, where they built Lake Louisville because it's a man-made lake, and it was supposed to be moved. And I found this cemetery, and it's maintained, but there's no names. Like, people literally put stones in a circle, and people go out there and put flowers in front of these places. They're not in rows, they're not in anything. Some have teepees on it, and I just got this feeling of like something. So I got the name of the actual cemetery. It was hard to find. You have to like go in a car dealership, and there's one gate to get in. And it turns out in the 1960s, there was a slave cemetery where Lake Louisville is, and they were supposed to move all the bodies put here. But there are so many deaths on Lake Louisville every year. I know of people who died on Lake Louisville every year. I think it's like a bad juju thing, but I don't think all the people made it to the burial ground, and that's why there's no markers. But families think, and so in 60 Minutes, there's a place, I think in Ohio, where they found out that a cemetery, also a slave cemetery, didn't get moved, and they went to school over it, and a company has their company over it in the parking lot, and they never seen it moved. And so I'm working with a developer to make like QR codes that your family could put like your life story, and they could build a wall Because these people are going to a place that they thought their loved ones are.
Yeah.
So these people lived a life and people still know them. So while people still know who they are, why not give them their name for all of us to know? It's like if you're going for a cemetery and you see a historical marker or something, you can click on the QR code, but only the person that is in charge of it can change it. Because I think anybody that walks this world should have no, you know, we're gonna be forgotten about once our kids or our grandkids are gone. But at least let somebody know that Donna lived here. You contributed some way, somehow.
Okay, I'm the same way. I mean, I'm not wearing it right now, but I totally have my one.
Brighton, I think.
Yeah.
Michelle gave it to you. And this, I found out, I thought all along I had this silverware under my bed, it was my aunt's, I thought. It turns out when I took it out, it had a C on it, and I go, Mom, why does Aunt Marlene have a C on it? She goes, that's Bubby's. It's my great grandmother's. And it wasn't the full set, but there's a couple pieces missing out of it. And so I took it to this jeweler who makes silverware jewelry.
Yeah.
And each of my girls, I got their ring size. And it has the C for Cherbow. So we all have a little bit of Bubby on this.
Special.
No, I'd rather be here early than try to find things to see.
And park,
Mm-hmm.
that in and of itself, like that you got a space,
Yeah.
that was.
Street walker.
Today is International Wear Your Camp T-shirt Day.
No, it is.
We could have all
No,
worn.
it isn't.
You're kidding.
Oh my God.
So we could have
Do
all
we even
worn.
have a camp t-shirt anymore? You were the last one to design one that I know of.
So I have a couple shirts from the reunion. So there was one that was like a 75th one, but then they had like they have like a camp store on camp, like a cupboard, and so they basically let us like pick what we want and then you just write it down, and then they charge us. So I got a t-shirt. So I got two shirts. Plus, you know, the one from the 50th.
Yeah. I had bought something for Peter's Day.
kind of
really
special that the
comforting to
three of
see
us
you
are together.
guys, that we were all in the same boat at the same time.
Yeah.
Actually, you unfortunately had to bail on me that summer. You had to go get sick. You made me a petrified person, because I didn't know anybody. I didn't even really know you either, but I at least.
It was a name or something.
Right, but it was a name to hang on
Would
to.
you say it first?
How did I say it?
Because I remember they were gonna shoot that.
Oh.
So, I think that would have done me in because I was just so, homesick and just like, I don't know, afraid to be there. I don't know.
So I kind of cleared the way. I don't even know why I went back. I think it's this time I wanted to give them a chance. Because I did not like that first year, really.
Yeah.
Marian was in
But
there.
what's interesting is that she would write letters that summer.
Right.
Like, all the time. And
But when I got my piece of gum taken out of my letter from my aunt.
I think in some ways, like, because I think I always felt like a little more on the outside of things. Like I was never part of the cool kids.
Me either.
And I think in some ways, like, I think Marian got us in a way.
Like she got us, yeah.
I think she got us, even though like she was the counselor, like when it was like Seabar and Bow Legs, she was in Bow Legs, not in Seabar with us. but,
Right.
Like I feel like in some ways, like,
I had a fun time. We had mini freshman. It was fun.
yeah, and Beth Happer.
And that happened, yeah.
Oh, and you'll be interested in this, totally speaking of our group. So at the 75th, Susan Mizell was there.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten the connection, but I said, do you know anything about what happened with Nora Pucco? She said, oh, Nora's alive and well.
Yeah, she has kids.
Yeah, and I guess she's like Nora's aunt or something.
Yeah, she is. You
So,
didn't know that?
if I did, I had forgotten it.
Okay.
So I was just like, always wondered whatever happened to her. And so,
Yeah.
but then there's some other folks from that I don't know. They don't know whatever happened with Lisa Emmons.
Oh my God, that first summer, Lisa Emmons, her parents, they were and they didn't come for parent day, so my mom and my grandmother, because my dad was always our business with that, got permission from her parents, and Nancy let her go with us. And she would have little tantrums that whole day.
Wow.
And my mom was being so generous and not knowing about camp, didn't have hotel reservation years in advance. And we had to stay at the Tip Top Hotel in Minocqua. It was like the scariest place ever. Yeah, Lisa, she was a character. I don't like the dad, a professor or something.
So the clients are here. I see one or both. And Gordon's in there too. What I should have done is go to the bathroom earlier, because going to the bathroom now, Chip was people in the foyer. So, I'm like, how can I get to the bathroom without seeing anybody?
I'm glad you're saying the same thing I'm thinking.
I mean, it was fun, like, I enjoyed seeing everybody at the
Did
reunion.
you
but,
like my text that I was really hoping I could pull off a big hat? But that was dinosaur, and I painted him.
Huh. Wild. I can see it. Isn't that so 3D printer?
No, he doesn't want, he does his for just fun. And I'm like, you know what I can do? As soon as I have to start doing it, it's not fun anymore. And I'm like, I noticed. So here's Rebecca and here's Ryan. And that's Samantha. He's turning on If you can make it bigger, that would be good. So Rebecca and he's 6'4", she's 5'9". She has heels on. Samantha's my height, just my little. And they are all really close. And Hannah and Becca, or Hannah and Samantha, or Samantha and Becca. Not all three.
Really? How interesting.
They have sister code. They won't break sister code. That's from No. Because he doesn't have it.
And what is me right now?
Travels a lot and also owns his own home. Maybe it's my sister-in-law. I paint wood flowers, and I did a wedding party. Oh, I thought I would really like doing that. They lived in Madison, and I don't, and so everything was done via Zoom or pictures. Very hard to know what you're getting. It just took a long time. Where'd it go? Oh, here's the one. So I did 4 bridesmaids, 11 corsages.
Oh my God.
That was, and then learning how to make, to hold it, that was the most challenging thing. But I wanted to do it, because I dip them and I airbrush them and I paint some, spray paint some. Come on. Good dog. Have fun. You can hold it up. As soon as people start wanting to move, they're gonna have it. I will sort of wait until they start coming in. I start surrendering.
Hi, are you Rabbi Gerson?
Yes, I am.
Hi, I'm Bina Wayne,
Rabbi.
formerly Beth
How are you?
Brownstein.
Thank you so much for intercessing.
Oh, sure. Was it helpful?
Yes, I incorporated a number of as a way of illustrating, because so many of the people are saying kinds of things. Oh, sorry to welcome you to the temple, unless you were here for a car meeting or something.
No, I haven't actually been to the temple here before. I've driven by it a few times, but.
Now, we've been here since '50s, early '50s, and before that, Washington Boulevard, and before that, the West Side. We are the second congregation of Bernard Felsenthal. He's found in Sinai, and in 1862. And when he tried to negotiate his contract 2 years later, and they didn't give him what he wanted, he left and he founded Zion. And we are B'nai Abraham Zion.
Oh, okay.
Another way in which a congregation gets founded.
Yeah.
I don't think you know my daughter, Jordy Gerson.
I know the name, I don't know her personally.
Yeah, Jordy's a rabbi friend.
Yeah, so, I definitely know the name from the rabbi Facebook group, I see posts and stuff.
What's the rabbi have? Mickey Mouse here.
Yeah,
No,
it took some
it's
time.
What do you want?
Put it in your doc, send it to him.
No, it's correct.
He had asked me to.
I like the question, actually.
Right, so I need to get somebody's, okay, so I went through again. Marian Lynn Schwartz, who's also a girl. We don't know each other, so that's what I need to know. Is it okay? And I was the one that said, I really feel like we should agree.
Yes.
Right.
Oh. It's funny, like, there's things you don't think about when you're in the midst of it, right?
Right.
So, I remember, I was singing the Triple Creed at some point to somebody, and they were like, that is a really long song. And I was like, I guess it is
I
kind of.
looked at it and I'm like, this keeps going.
Right, like,
And season.
right, it's like, it's a really long song. So I was like, but if you read it, it's much quicker. I did a test read, like, a minute and a half, we're good.
You want a smaller one? Well, there's two mourners and their spouses, so I just thought that's something to be more. Right.
Dan, Yanan, Stephen Perry, and two. One. Yeah, that's all I have. That's when Marian repeated the too many trouble times, because she's starting to look like me. We actually used to have a Baldwin. Yeah, Annie from Rockford.
Hi, I'm Allison Slinsky.
Are you Chippewa people?
Yes. Yeah, we are long time Chippewa girls. That's how we
They
knew
call,
Marian.
themselves Chippies, but not in that way.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't, like, we never knew until we got much older that like, oh, there's a meaning.
No wonder they were so popular.
We didn't know chipping meant that.
How's the congregation?
Shrinking and small, but we're surviving, you know.
About what, about 120 now?
Oh, not even, we're more like, right now, we're about 70.
How long have you been there for?
About 21 years, I'm in my 22nd year right now.
Any possibility of drawing in from community moving out beyond the office stage?
But you never know.
About the what? Gainesville.
So my husband is Rabbi Boyd.
Oh, wow.
So you don't want to be too. Of course, that-
I'm not sure, sorry.
You know,
Oh, no. After we
the other candidate was doing. Her.
I forget to say this, just thank you so much for always being, giving Marian an unbelievable friend, and our family owes you so much.
So many years before you met, it's just like a best friend.
Yeah, you guys are.
Something that's going wrong. I call her.
Oh, and Allison and Dave are coming, so you guys are all here, so make sure you know. They're gonna be here, we've been in touch with them all.
That's the hardest thing about this, it's too
In fact, you could even maybe leave these two.
So I kind of meaning the sons and their spouses here and the grandchildren behind.
So many pieces of loss. Marian, what's going to happen to Pooches?
The brothers and then these.
I'm sorry.
I really want to keep her if I can.
Is it possible? I mean, in terms of your logistics?
I know, but see, I was thinking, like, I know how to sing it, but I don't know.
Family's going to be very
I know, we're all together.
You have those in yet? Be sure to somehow email all of the.
You'll hear them, probably.
So,
Might be a-
I actually,
there to the hospital.
I knew they put them all over. Yeah, I think she was office, and I'm like, oh, that's really the office. I don't think
Now, when my mother died,
Oh, no, she's coming in 2 days. Jewish connection. She was imagine yes. We have that. We'll leave it on for silence. And so he said, get everything calm before there's
there's more. There's more at the door.
grandchildren, please sit in the second row.
So you guys are all, excuse me, Zach, I'm sorry. No, we yes. Thanks for being here. Oops, I'm so sorry. Or maybe Charles is here, so they come in. That would be good to sit here. Thank you, it's easier.
Yeah, it's like this. When they try to get to theirs. My brother's not going to get through it. He said, turn around and
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask everyone to please take their seats?
No, we have someone sitting here.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask everyone to put your cell phones in the silent mode? Thank everybody for coming and the people that are online as well watching the service. The funeral is going to be conducted by Rabbi Gary Gerson, Cantor Agnes Goldman, and Rabbi Max Weiss is here as well.
Before we begin our service, we're going to take a moment for prayer. Blessings of many words, the shortest blessing we have is the blessing we'll see after we care. And the reason for that is
Everybody, gentlemen.
repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai, Dayan ha'emet. Praise are you, Adonai, who judges in truth.
I'd like to mention there's 24 devices online with us right now, so we've got 30 to 40 more people.
First of all, on behalf of the family, I want to thank you all for coming, whether it is virtually or actually. Appreciate your presence. Ours is a wise and honest tradition. When faced with death, rather than offer certitude and visions of heaven, we are counseled to recognize that there are limitations to knowledge and comprehension. As Moses concluded, there are mysteries that belong to God, problems that we are not meant to solve. Theologies ring hollow when our beloved dead lie before us. But there is poetry, and there are images, patterns in the world about us that bring to mind gently, lovingly, thoughts to guide us into our sorrow and our release. And so we begin with the following words drawn either from our sacred texts or were fostered by them to ease us into this time as we've gathered to honor Marian's memory. In the words of Ecclesiastes, one generation passes away and another comes, but the earth abides forever. The sun also rises and the sun goes down and hastens to his place where he arose. The wind goes toward the south and turns about unto the north. It whirls about continually, and the wind returns again according to its circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, there they return again.
ינחני במעגלי צדק, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צר מוות, לא ירא, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפניי שולחן נגד צהריי. דשנת לשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני רואי לא אחזור, אדוני רואי לא אחזור.
I invite you to join me in the words of translation in the brochure and receive on entering the sanctuary. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. From the poet Mary Oliver, When Death Comes. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse, to buy me and snap the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a singular daisy, and as unique. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence. And each body a lion of courage, and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, life, I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world.
Poem by K. Ryan. Things shouldn't be so hard. A life should leave deep tracks. Ruts where she went out and back to get the mail or move the hose around the yard. Where she used to stand before the sink, a worn-out place. Beneath her hand, the china knobs rubbed down to white pastils. The switch she used to feel for in the dark, almost erased. Her things should keep her marks. The passage of a life should show. It should abrade. And when life stops, a certain space, however small, should be left scarred by the grand and damaging parade. Things shouldn't be so hard. Psalm 121. I lift my eyes to the mountains. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever.
In the words of Rabbi Alvin Fine, birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from ignorance to awareness, to knowing. From foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back, we pray, to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love. From joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death the destination. And life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. There are 54 sections into which the Torah is divided. Roughly speaking, one section read each week. This being the case, there's a certain literary and spiritual synchronicity to Marian's funeral taking place this week. When we read of the first Jews in the business of hospitality. In a nutshell, 3 guests arrive at Abraham and Sarah's tent to inform them that Sarah will give birth to a long-awaited son. Now remember that Sarah was 89 and Abraham was 99. And yet, despite their arthritis and aches and pains, the first thing that Abraham did, according to the words of Torah exactly, he ran out to the angelic beings to extend to them a fine meal and warm hospitality. Those of you who knew Marian well understand just how appropriate is the link between her and these words of Torah. In keeping with her father, her brother, her nephew, Marian's life was all about hospitality in every sense of the term. Here is the core of the ethical life of service. In the act of turning to the other and providing hospitality, food to the hungry, and comfort to one's beloved family, one's friends, and to stranger alike. Such was Marian Lynn Schwartz. She touched lives from her earliest years. Just ask Rabbi Bina Wing, who is here with other friends from Chippewa Ranch Camp. Rabbi Wing, a colleague from Rockford, was one of Marian's campers. And as Bina has said, Marian was a beloved counselor of mine and a larger-than-life influence in my life. Another camper posted the comment that Marian was a legend. She was loved, admired, held in awe, deeply respected, and even feared. She was everything Chippewa to me. To a person, her former campers and fellow counselors remember her as steady, reliable, grounded, and kind. One said she is forever woven into the fabric of camp, and what a blessing that her memory will always live there as well. And finally, the former director of the camp honors Marian not only as a friend, but as having been essential in keeping the camp viable at a particular time in its history. And we find similar words of gratitude expressed up to the present day. Not long ago, in the midst of a chaotic family Thanksgiving, Marian is remembered as taking note of a younger guest overwhelmed by all the chaos. So off Marian goes with her to spend quiet time, and no surprise, to play with the dogs. Marian was all about making others feel at home. Hers was a great and generous heart, always there to help, always there to stand up for the little guy. She absolutely would not be intimidated. Carol and I first met Marian just as she went off to the University of Wisconsin. There she became a Badger in her blood, a lifelong booster, who as her truck, her Range Rover, her boat, and even her casket attest, were always garbed in red. Always athletic, she was a golfer, she followed Wisconsin sports, she was a regular player of softball. And as the years went by, she and Steve often found themselves on opposite sides when it was Wisconsin playing Northwestern. But they kept it civil even as they were on opposite ends of the sofa. With the fondest of memories of the Schwartz Northwoods retreat in Minocqua, fishing with Jim, with whom she had a very special relationship, and reminiscences of her years both as a camper and as a counselor at Chippewa Ranch, Marian chose to take a master's degree in outdoor recreation at Indiana University. Imagining a career in camping that combined all of these loves, she and Jim even explored the possibility of acquiring an overnight camp for her to direct. Well, that didn't happen. So Marian followed in the family tradition and began her career in hospitality with Hyatt Corporation. At first working locally, in keeping with her wanting to live life on her own terms and to blossom in her own right, she moved to California to work with Hyatt. And for the rest of her life, Marian balanced her need for her independence with her close and loving relationship with her family. And as the years went by, more as she could, there were summers spent with the Schwartz brood in Minocqua, and then more recently at Little Dog Lodge, aka Camp Corgi, the Corgi compound in nearby Boulder Junction. There were frequent visits to Chippewa Ranch Camp and weekly Shabbat dinners with family. And you could always tell when Marian had just arrived from California into the Northwoods, complete with her pups, because she would post as the first thing, as some of you may well know, a photo of her first soft-serve chocolate cup with a full review as to its quality and comparison, taste testing to prior chocolate cones. In particular, she received a strong review that she posted for Corner Drive-In, which, as she put it, has good food, good friends, and is a classic park of the Northwoods. In California, she filled her life with her many dear friends. No surprise, her corgis. Her dogs, her kids from a different mother, so you might say, became mascots in the 4 softball leagues in which she played. She was a guiding force in the SoCal Corgi Nation. In fact, she had just returned to California so she could join with thousands of other Corgi owners for a Corgi Beach Day. Thousands of dogs on the beach. I'll leave that to your imagination. Behind the scenes, so characteristic of Marian, she gave generously to help Corgi owners who couldn't afford expensive vet care. So utterly smitten with corgis, Marian melded her skills as a photographer and videographer into a practice of sending out animated greeting cards with a corgi voicing personally tailored messages. And if you're up for a smile, you'll be able to see one as part of a photo montage during the Shiva observance later today and tomorrow. As one of our friends opined, even now, Marian is being met at the gates of heaven by thousands of corgi angels. But most of all, there was Marian's love for her family. Her nephews and nieces might as well have been her own kids, except she always said yes when their parents said no. Her refrigerator was stocked with all of their favorite goodies. As you'll soon learn, she traveled the world with them. She traveled to their musicals and plays, and was there for all their graduations, and spoiled them in every way possible. She held court with them, and they confided in her, and she in them. In a few moments, Steve will be sharing his remembrances of Marian on behalf of himself, Terry, Dan, Yanan, Michael, Holly, and all the cousins and friends. Steve will be followed by Marian's nephew, Sam, speaking on behalf of all of the nephews and nieces. Rabbi Harold Kushner wrote in his book, "When all you've ever wanted isn't enough, I believe that it is not dying that people are afraid of. Something else, something more unsettling and more tragic than dying frightens us. We are afraid of never having lived, of coming to the end of our days with a sense that we were never really alive, that we never figured out what life was for. It is not how long we live, I suppose, for the most part. It is how we live each moment, each hour, each day." Thankfully, this was a lesson Marian learned long ago. She lived each day, assured of the love of her family, rich with a memory of yesterday and the prospect of tomorrow, and fulfilled by a vocation and avocations which touched so many lives. But above all, she lived with gratitude for having been called into life to travel on this wondrous adventure, and for the friendship that she found along the way. As Marian herself would put it, her life was just ducky. So shall we be grateful for having been blessed to share this adventure with her. And let us say,
First of all, I also want to thank all of you for coming and sharing this memory with us. It means so much to myself and the family, and Marian, and then who would be left of her as well, recognition. I never expected to be up here eulogizing my sister. Thought it would be the other way around, so it's taken me a little bit of time to gather some thoughts. The rabbi spoke a lot about what you hear from me, but it just reinforces who she was as a person. It's difficult to capture the essence of a person's life, which spans years in just a few moments. I'll try to do her justice. And one of the key things for Marian is that she lived life on her own terms. That was really defining for her. As Frank Sinatra would say, she did it her way. I can still remember the day that Marian came home from the hospital. I was proud to have a new baby sister who was named after my mom's maternal grandmother. Our family was finally complete. With the 9 years separating us, I learned how to change diapers, count, which I later on said I'd forgotten when it came to my kids. Babysat for her. She took a lot of teasing from me, but I protected her and loved her. Marian was the proverbial apple of my dad's eye. They developed a bond and camaraderie very extraordinary. Sundays were daddy-daughter days, kiddie land, bowling, horseback riding, and in the later years, she would accompany him to the casino or wherever his adventures took him. He was always at his side. There are three predominant themes which characterize Marian's life. And I think as we've heard today, the corgis being one of them. And the question is, where did it start? In 1963, there was a movie, Disney movie, Little Dog Lost, which featured a Welsh corgi, which was the start of a love affair with corgis that lasted a lifetime. In 1965, our family acquired its first corgi, Victoria, appropriately named after the Queen of England. The Queen had several on her own, but we had one. Marian immediately bonded with this dog. And throughout her life, she rescued them, raised many of them, and cared for them. For Marian, corgis were life itself. Although she never married, these were her four-legged children. Corgi Beach Day, an annual event which was hosted by the SoCal Corgi Nation, was really the highlight of the fall for Marian. Literally, I don't know if there were thousands or hundreds, but there were a lot of corgis that would fly to the beach. And she would probably bring her two, sometimes three, depending on how many corgis she had at the time, to romp in the ocean and share the day with other corgi lovers. For her, this was joyous. Marian could always be counted on to help fellow corgi owners whose dogs needed special care and might not be able to afford the appropriate treatment. She was always there. We asked in lieu of flowers a memorial, if you so inclined, to be made the Queen's Best Stumpy Dog Rescue. This is a cause that Marian championed as a beneficiary and was a beneficiary of her largesse. But it took care of those dogs that needed extra care, specifically corgis. The second major theme of Marian's life was Wisconsin. But this has several dimensions to it. For the first of all, the 9-year-old, she went to her first summer at Camp Chippewa. It's an all-girls camp in northern Wisconsin. She learned how to sail, canoe, horseback ride, and yes, play softball. A sport she dearly loved, and as the rabbi indicated, was part of 4 leagues at her prime. She spent 17 years there as a camper and then as a counselor, and she endeared herself to the Chippies, as they refer to themselves, with her spirit, friendship, humor, and definitely her love. I don't know if we'll hear more from them today, but probably tonight we'll hear from the Chippies. Wisconsin had a special hold on her, so when it came to selecting her college, UW was the only place that she would consider. It permanently branded her with her red and white of Wisconsin, her car, her truck, her boat, and her favorite wardrobe were all blazoned in red. Although she was living in SoCal when she retired in 2014, there was no question where she was headed. It was Northern California. Northern Wisconsin. Northern California. Not far from camp, and a short 10-minute drive from a house that Terry and I and our family had in northern Wisconsin. And Little Dog Lodge, as her home would come to be named, was her slice of heaven, where she could take in all that nature had afforded. And to the bald eagles whom she claimed headed in for her, the early morning photo ops of aurora borealis and occasional eclipse, and maybe one of the Northwoods magical lightning storms, which lit up the night sky. She captured all this in living color and was always anxious to share it on social media with her friends with the appropriate musical accompaniment. Northern Wisconsin was a special place for the Schwartz family, and we always enjoyed when we were there regular Shabbat dinners with her, celebrating my mom's birthday at my mom's favorite place, Sholem, at the Guides Inn. And at the end of the summer, a birthday celebration for Marian, most of the time at Little Bohemian, which was a quintessential Northwood supper club, where Marian would indulge in what she defined as the best brandy Alexander around. That was her one treat. Finally, the most poignant element of her being was Marian's heart and generosity. There's so many examples, I'm not sure where to begin. Marian's two-legged children, my kids, were her kids, Sam, Charlie, and Sari, and she had a special relationship with all of them. As the rabbi said, she traveled the world with Sam. She never missed a musical of Charlie, and there were a lot of them from Pittsburgh. She was always there for him. And she related to Sari really as a fellowship. Whatever Terry and I denied them, she indulged them. Auntie M, as I referred to her as, was always there gracious and giving, and was there to be with my kids. She made all the 3 graduations for them, and could not forget her Corey birthday card greetings. In the Northwoods, she created a service called the Corby Concierge, where she would connect with all my kids prior to their coming north to the house and fully stock it with whatever they wanted. Food, drinks, for Charlie, always snacks. And even went out so far as to buy a half dozen copper cups for them so they can enjoy real Moscow mules. Marian was so intent on sharing the experience in the Northwoods that she went out and purchased a Cadillac of jet skis to replace the clunker that I had bought, used, and deemed not up to the task, so that they would cruise in high style on the lake. The Corgi Concierge would also have an occasional bottle of Glenfiddich in advance of my arrival. And for Danny, when Danny made his trip up here last time, she made a special trip out to the store to supply us with lox and bagels, which was a breakfast treat that she knew Danny immensely enjoyed. Whatever was asked of Marian, she was only too happy to comply. I think one of her camp friends best summed it up online, describing Marian as strong, independent, reliable, loving, and kind. Marian's early death will certainly leave a void in the world. She was loved by so many and will be dearly missed. Always having a Werther's caramel to hand out to a friend, or a dog biscuit in her pocket for the pooches. We loved her and will miss her for sure. When asked how she was doing, she always quipped, "Just ducky," as we said. And my phone's ringtone for Marian was a duck's quack. I will definitely miss that sound, but will take solace in the fact that she left this world a much better place. May her memory be always a blessing.
I'm Sam Schwartz, one of Marian's nephews. Thank you all for being here today. I'm up here on behalf of Marian's 5 nieces and nephews, myself, Allison, Dana, Charlie, Sari. I would never say that we were like her kids because she had her furry kids. But I think it's fair to say that we were tiny humans in her life that she cared deeply about. The other night, the Schwartz kids got together to reminisce about Marian, and we went strong for a few hours, so there's a lot I could say. I'm going to try to boil it down to a few stories and sentiments. Aunt Marian was fun. Some of my earliest memories of her involved sprinting away from her as fast as I could, squealing with laughter, as I tried to escape anti-earthquake as she chased me down to deliver a noogie so hard it would make me want to run even faster next time. And there were always as many next times as we could handle. One Passover, I was foolish enough to challenge her to a maror eating contest, to which she gamely agreed, with the condition that we both eat an entire piece of the horseradish at once, and first to blink lost. Aunt Em had sinuses of steel and a fierce competitive streak because in over 20 years I never beat her. In my 20s, I took a gap year to travel, and she met up with me 3 different times. Once in Sydney, where we climbed the Sydney Bridge and danced at an Avicii DJ concert. Once in Beijing, where we explored the Great Wall and haggled for bootleg wristwatches. And once in Munich, where we drank beer, wearing traditional feathered hats, and took an Oktoberfest scene. She loved goofing around, friendly competition, and sharing moments with those close to her. Aunt Marian was generous, it's been said. But growing up, we didn't need Santa. We had our own jolly, gift-slinging, red-wearing figure. Marian will forever hold a special place in our hearts as the giver of our first Game Boys, which is one of those childhood highs you never forget. But she was generous in many ways. Once she established her Little Dog Lodge in Northwoods, Wisconsin, as it's been said, whenever one of the Schwartz kids would visit our own house up there, Marian would take time out of her life to stock the house with all sorts of goodies, and they were goodies. She never skimped. And it was really both the gesture of sponsoring some of the weekend, but also really just ensuring that we could spend the time enjoying ourselves. And we will miss her concierge. At a recent family gathering, she sponsored a kids-only Schwartz niece-nephew dinner with all of our plus ones. She had us laughing and reflecting on life with stories of her childhood and lessons learned, all of which ended up with her almost in a shouting match with the manager over her wanting to pick up the tab after her brother Steve had attempted to do so remotely. She won. Beyond family, I know there are many in this room that she helped similarly with her time and resources. She gave freely of herself to make those around her feel loved and happy. Aunt Marian was herself. This is the thing that we perhaps most appreciate about her. In an age where authenticity can be hard to find, Marian didn't try to be anything other than who she wanted to be. And by doing so, both encouraged and gave us permission to do the same. Whenever I see a red pickup truck, or a corgi, or hear a duck quack, or have matzo ball soup, or any of the dozens of things that will remind me of her, I will be inspired to be fun, to be generous, and to be myself. And I am forever grateful to her for that.
In Jewish tradition, there is actually only one prayer that is unique to the funeral, and it is the El Malay. It is our prayer of passing of the person from this world to the next, of our love in the actual world, into the world of good moments, in the heart and in the mind's eye. I invite you to please rise as we now share the words of the Amen.
שהלכה לעולמה, ברחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, ותנוח בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר אמן.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Marian Lynn Schwartz, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated.
Interment's going to take place at Waldheim Cemetery. It's gate number 47 on Des Plaines Avenue. If you're going to the cemetery, we're going to have a funeral procession. It's going to form on Harlem Avenue facing south at the first stoplight. Just pull behind the hearse. Please leave space for the family and the rabbi. But we will put flags on your cars, drive with your high beam headlights on and your flashers on. Please drive defensively. If you end up going through a red light, you're permitted to do it, but I want you to all look carefully before you proceed. After the interment, the family is going back for today and tomorrow to the Schwartz residence, which is at 2120 Lincoln Park West, and from 4 to 8 p.m. on both days. And also the pallbearers will be the grandchildren and their spouses. If I could ask all of the pallbearers to please come up to the front.
Nieces and nephews.
Nieces and nephews, she's too young. Your sister's too young. And also, yeah, it's actually Stephen and Terry's residence. Mara put only Terry's residence on. Pallbearers, we're going to follow behind the casket.
Please rise.
Everybody, please. I ask you, sir, to please move out of the way here. Thank you. Pallbearers, go ahead up to either side now. those of you that are online, the interment will take place also online in about 30 to 45 minutes. It's on the website. Proceed forward.